The designs feature simple little shapes that you can make for your own holiday decorations. And the hope is that you might be able to use these for either your home Christmas tree for a handmade look, or perhaps these would be fun projects to do with children in your Sunday school group. The children might do these as gifts for shut-ins at your church, so be creative and there'd be lots of ideas that you could come up with for these. We're going to be having a free handout design for the project. Handout will include paper patterns and instructions on how to make the projects. We're going to be making the projects in the studio using the flurry brocade. This is a metallic brocade fabric, and we're going to look at some different design motifs within the fabric to use for our project. The different shapes for our project include a star shape, kind of a three-sided little oval shape design, a little water drop or a teardrop shape, a Christmas tree, and a little square or a diamond shape. And so to begin with, using our flurry brocade, I'm going to start by matching up a few pattern repeats within the fabric. And so I'm going to center the designs around this shape. I'm going to pick a point right here in the design, and I'm going to look at my bottom layer. I'm going to put a pin through the top of this point, and then I'm going to look at my bottom layer of fabric and move my pin over to that same point on the motif on the second layer, and then I'm going to pin. I'm going to do the same thing, pick another point down here at the bottom, line the 2 points up and place a pin. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the sides, pick 2 points, line those up and put a pin, and then the same thing over here on the side. And whenever you're cutting with a brocade, this is a good way to make sure that your pattern motifs will line up between 2 layers of fabric. And so now that I've got the 2 layers of fabric lined up, I can take all of my pattern piece shapes, fold them in half, and then just place them along the motif, and then just kind of center those up on the motif. And then just place a few pins. And then we'd be ready to cut. And then I would repeat that process for each of the other shapes and just kind of lay them out on the fabric. Now that I've got the pinning in place, I've worked a little bit ahead, and here I have some of the pieces all cut out and ready to pin together to take to the sewing machine. So we're going to start with the star shape first. So I've got 2 sides for the star. I've got a front and a back side, and for this one I picked this motif to be the top part of the star. And to get these ready for sewing, I have a little gold cord, and so I'm going to place that gold cord at the top of this part of the motif where I've got that planned for the top of the star, and put the matching piece on top, right sides together, and get the edges all lined up. And then I'll just put a few pins in to hold everything in place. When I'm pinning up here with the cord, I'm going to pin through both layers and try to capture the cord as well so that stays put and doesn't shift when I'm sewing. Then I'll just put a pin at each of the tips. And then this one would be all ready to go to the sewing machine. Next, I'm going to do the same thing with the little teardrop shape. So this would be the top of the teardrop, and so I'm going to take my little gold cord here, fold it in half, and I guess I don't have an exact measurement on the gold cord, but I'm looking to have a length that's about this long, probably about 2.5 inches up one side. So probably about a 5 to a 6 inch length of cord, plus a little bit extra to have sewn into the seam allowance. And so again, I'll place that at the upper edge. And I'm going to pin and make sure I catch the cord at the upper edge so it doesn't shift when I'm sewing. And then I'll line up the lower edges with just a couple of pins. And that one is ready to sew. The next one is the diamond shaped or the square shape, and we'll do the same thing with this. Just grab a little piece of cord. And make sure I've got the correct pattern motifs lined up. And I'm going to pin at the upper edge here and catch the cord as I'm pinning. And then I'll put a pin in each of the corners, making sure my edges are lined up. And I'm just going to double check that I've got the same pattern repeat in the corners. And that one's all set. With this one, I might do something just a little bit different. So I've got the cord at the upper edge, and here where the lower edge is, I'm going to actually slip a little tassel inside. So the tassel is going to go inside here, and I'm going to have a little bit of the tassel cord hanging out the lower edge, and I'm going to catch that tassel cord with the pin here at the lower edge. There we go. Okay, that one's all set. This next one has 3 pieces, and so this is a little bit different to put this one together. I'm going to start with 2 pieces and pin those together. The more pointed end is going to be the upper edge. So I'm going to pin at the top and the bottom here. And if it's easier, this one might be one where you take this to the machine and sew this seam first, and then bring it back, and then open it up, and then put your second piece together, and then sew your second seam at the sewing machine, and then come back to your work table, and then pin your third seam together. But as you're pinning your third seam, we're going to want to do just a little bit more. We're going to want to make sure our cord is up at the upper edge, at the more pointed edge, so that that gets caught in the seam when you're stitching your third seam. So I'm going to go ahead and pin that in place right now. And then the other thing that you can do is at the bottom here, you can also insert a tassel if you like, and catch that, and then just make sure that gets caught when you're sewing your third seam. Okay. There. Okay, now all of the pieces are ready for sewing at the sewing machine. And one thing to keep in mind is that you will start and do a little bit of a reverse stitch, and then use about 1/4 inch seam all the way around, and then stop a little bit before you get to your where you started stitching, and leave a little opening so you have the ability to turn them right side out. So just make sure you leave a little opening as you sew around all of your pieces. We have this group that shows all of the seams have been sewn on all of our pieces, and we have left the little opening so that the pieces are ready to turn. So there's our little star with the stitching all the way around the edges on that. Our little diamond shape, it has the opening right here, and it's been stitched all the way around. When we did get to the upper edge, we did do a little bit of an extra stitching across, a little back and forth, just to make sure that cord for hanging stays in place. And we did the same thing at the bottom where the tassel is. We did just a little bit of extra stitching, a little reinforcement stitching at that point. And our Christmas tree, we left a little opening here along the side, so it's stitched all the way around, and then just a little opening right here on the side. Our little teardrop shape is stitched all the way around here with a little opening. This one got a little bit small, so that might be a little bit tight to turn around. And then the three-sided piece, all three seams are sewn, and this seam here we left a little bit of an opening, and then have our edge up here with the cord, and then down here our tassel at the bottom. And so let's see, we'll just go ahead and we'll just turn one of these right side out, and you'll follow the same technique with turning all of the rest of them right side out. And so for the little square shaped one, I'm going to kind of grab that little corner with my finger and turn that out, and then kind of push that little corner out, and then grab the next little corner and kind of pull that one out, and that has the little cord, so I can give that a little tug. The next one is the one with the tassel, and here comes the tassel. And we can give that just a little bit of a tug for that corner, and then there should be one corner left to turn right side out. And there's the last corner. Because the seam allowance is so tiny on this, I didn't grade or clip anything with the corners. It's up to you if you want to do that, depending on the fabric that you use. If you feel you want those corners to be turned out just a little bit more, you can very carefully take a pin and just kind of ease them out just a little bit more. Or you could use a point turner and also push those out just a little bit more, but just be really careful depending on your fabric. It's not a very big seam allowance. Okay, and so then the next step after you get all your pieces turned is to grab some fiber fill and then just stuff those. And so let me grab that. So here's our little opening, and we're just going to take a little fiber fill and then just work that into the corners. And then depending on how firmly you want it filled up or how puffy you want it, you can decide on how much fiber fill you want to add to the various pieces. And I think that looks like that should be good. And so then the final thing to do with each of the pieces is to put the two little raw edges together and hold those together with a pin. And then get some matching thread, and then just do a little hand stitch to close up the edges, and then your project is all finished. Now, depending on who's doing the project, if you want to do these projects with children, depending on their age, if they're old enough to safely use a sewing machine, let them go ahead and have the fun of doing the stitching around the edges and so forth. If you're working with younger children, you might want to have the pieces already sewn and already have them turned right side out so that the children are just putting the stuffing in, and then maybe you might need to help them with the hand sewing and closing them up.